Kore Mapindika, and welcome to Africa Good Morning, the show that keeps you up to date with the latest news in Africa and beyond. My name is Glenora Shipura. Let's take a look at what you can expect in today's broadcast. Eskom's generation recovery plan yielding continuous light, and Nigerian president demands end to deadly protests. Somali police say 37 people died in an attack on a beach hotel. We'll also be talking to Talent Gore, who'll be filling us in on the latest news in Zimbabwe. Stay tuned for these and more on Africa Good Morning.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Getting into our top stories, state-owned entity Eskom has significantly improved its generation capacity and turned around its performance, which has been welcomed by many South Africans. With over 132 days of no load shedding, Eskom continues to keep the lights on, generating so much power it had to place some units in cold reserve. This is in stark contrast to last year when the country experienced severe bouts of rolling blackouts, reaching stage 6 at times. Eskom's head of generation, Becky Ngabalo, told Newsroom Africa that the country has made significant progress from the dark times of last year. It is quite pleasing, as you recall, last year this time we were going through very, very difficult times for the whole country. So it's quite encouraging, the current result that we have achieved, where we are now in a position to operate in normal forms. Ngabalo revealed that Eskom's fleet is performing so well that it is creating problems for the system operator responsible for maintaining the stability of the country's electricity grid. Meanwhile, energy expert Chris Yaland has also been encouraged by Eskom's turnaround, sharing a post in X. A further stunning reduction in unplanned breakdowns within Eskom's fleet of coal-fired power stations and the corresponding increase in energy availability factor for week 30, ending Sunday the 28th of July 2024, which for the first time in 3.5 years exceeded 70%. In our next story, Nigerian President Bola Tinubu has appealed for protests to end after bloodshed during 3 days of demonstration over a deepening cost of living crisis. At least 7 people have died and more than 700 have been arrested since Nigerians nationwide rallied on Thursday for the first of 10 planned days of rage. My dear Nigerians, especially our youth, I have heard you loud and clear, the president said in a televised address, adding that he understood their pain and frustration. He went on to defend his economic reforms, which the protesters blame for their hardships since he came to office in May 2023, including skyrocketing prices. The president said the protests had been hijacked by looters in some areas and ending the unrest would create room for dialogue. But Tinubu did not indicate that he would reverse his policies, which include removing a petrol subsidy or ending the peg of the local currency to the dollar. The demonstrations were organized via social media using the hashtag #End Bad Governance and inspired by the recent success of protesters in Kenya who forced the government there to scrap plans to increase taxes. President Tinubu also expressed pain over the loss of lives in 4 northern states and the destruction of public facilities. 24-hour curfews remain in place in Borno, Jigawa, Kano, and Yobe after authorities there accuse hoodlums of violence. Tinubu said the wanton looting of supermarkets and shops was contrary to the promise of protest organizers. The protests in Kano City drew the largest crowd on the first day, with police firing live bullets and tear gas to try and disperse thousands of demonstrators. Getting to our next story, at least 37 people died and 212 others were wounded in an attack on a beach hotel in Somalia's capital, Mogadishu. Authorities also said that 1 soldier was killed and another wounded, while the rest of the dead were civilians. Witnesses reported an explosion followed by gunfire. Al-Qaeda's East Africa affiliate Al-Shabaab said through its radio station that its fighters carried out the attack. A witness, Mohammed Mualim, told the Associated Press that he saw an attacker wearing an explosive vest moments before the man blew himself up next to the Beachview Hotel. Mualim said some of his friends who were with him at the hotel were killed and others wounded. Another witness, Abdisalem Adam, told the AP that he saw many people lying on the ground and had helped take some wounded people to the hospital. The Lido Beach area has in the past been targeted by militants allied to Al-Shabaab. Medicines Sans Frontiers said on Sunday there was a risk of severe shortage of special food designed to treat malnourished children in Sudan's North Darfur Zamzam camp for internally displaced people. More than 15 months of war in Sudan between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces have created the world's biggest internal displacement crisis and left 25 million people, or half the population, in urgent need of humanitarian aid. Our teams only have enough therapeutic food to treat malnourished children in Zamzam camp, Sudan, for another 2 weeks. MSF posted on X. It also said they had to limit treatment due to supply trucks being blocked by the RSF. Now, the RSF has said that it provides protection for aid convoys and that it is ready to cooperate with any aid agencies. MSF said without treatment, children with severe malnutrition are at risk of dying within 3 to 6 weeks. Our 3 trucks bringing life-saving medical supplies, including therapeutic food to Zamzam and El Fasher, have been blocked in Kabia for over a month by the RSF, MSF said. In the last of our top stories, at least 30 people have been killed and many others injured in Israeli strikes on 2 United Nations-run schools in the west of Gaza City. The latest death toll was reported to Al Jazeera by Dr. Marwan Al-Hams, the director of hospitals in the Gaza Ministry of Health. According to the Palestinian Civil Defense in Gaza, 80% of those killed and injured in the strikes on Sunday at the Hassan, Salama, and Al-Nasser schools were children. Reporting from Deir el-Bala, Al Jazeera Hani Mohammed said that the schools, which have been used as shelters by displaced Palestinians, have been severely damaged. This is the same scenario that we have seen in the past few days. What we know for a fact right now is that there is a concentration of attacks on evacuation centers. What's concerning about this is that the Israeli military is not giving any prior warning to people inside these evacuation centers, Mahmoud said. Another correspondent noted that most of the buildings used as shelters for the displaced in Gaza are schools, as they are the only large spaces available now to house a significant number of people. Sunday's attacks followed the bombing of a school on Saturday by the Israeli army. Following Sunday's attacks, at least 15 people were killed in Israeli air raids on the Hamama school in the chic rundown neighborhood in Gaza City, which was sheltering displaced Palestinians. That concludes our top stories. On the other side of the break, we talk to Talent Gore, who'll be giving us the rundown on the state of affairs in Zimbabwe.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
Now, South Africa's second largest party and coalition partner, Democratic Alliance, has demanded the neighboring country's governance use its authority as a member of SADC to call on member countries to move the SADC summit from Zimbabwe to a different location owing to intensifying human rights violations. Here to bring us this story and more news from Zimbabwe is Talent Gore. Good morning, Talent.
Good morning, Glenora, and Africa, good morning. So apparently the Democratic Alliance has called on South Africa to chip as a member of the SADC and also communicate with other countries to ensure that the SADC summit is moved from Harare. The SADC summit is supposed to take place in the next 2 weeks, but DA is saying that the location of the summit should be moved owing to a number of human rights violations which are taking place in Zimbabwe. A number of pro-democracy activists have been arrested since last week, and others have been arrested in June. 78 pro-democracy activists, or rather opposition party activists, were arrested in June, and they are still in police custody. And just last week, 4 pro-democracy activists were also arrested on their way to Victoria Falls. They were about to board a plane to Victoria Falls, and the police are saying that they intended to cause public indecency, or rather public violence, and they are saying that they are making plans to hold protests during the SADC summit. So they've been arrested. You also find out that some political leaders have been arrested. Take, for example, Jacob Ngarivume. He was also arrested because the government, or rather the police, are saying that they are planning to demonstrate during the SADC summit. So the Democratic Alliance has said that South Africa should come in and they should move the SADC summit Harare to a different location.
Still on the SADC summit, I understand that the Home Affairs Minister Kazembe has issued a chilling warning against opposition activists and civil society allies. He is accused of plans to roll out protests and render the country ungovernable ahead of the SADC summit this coming month.
Yes, addressing the media on Friday, whilst he was with the police generals, the Minister of Home Affairs Kazembe said that they were going to go against opposition activists and civil society allies who are being accused of planning and rolling out protests and render the country ungovernable ahead of the SADC summit. They said that they are going to go all out on everyone who's planning on protesting during the SADC summit. And they also said that they had information and they know what everyone is planning in regards to the protests during the SADC summit. So they said that the minister said that the government was not going to allow any disturbances to occur during the summit, and they were ready to squash any protests because they believe that the opposition, they will become violent during protests. So they are not going to allow any protests during the SADC summit. You also find out that some activities have been banned to cater for the SADC summit, which is coming in 2 weeks. There are some activities like outdoor parties, outdoor chillings for people that have been banned because they're saying that those can also become violent and protests might erupt from those gatherings. So any large gathering is not allowed ahead of the SADC summit. And the police are saying that they're going to ensure that nothing of that sort is going to happen, and they will squash any protests in any public gatherings with a lot of people. So none of that is being allowed in Zimbabwe, and the police and the government is working together to ensure that no tests will occur or will happen during the SADC summit.
All right. Now, getting into the last of your stories, the United Nations Development Program hands over 136 vehicles to the Health Ministry.
Yes, the United Nations Development Fund has given the Zimbabwean government 136 new vehicles, which will be used by the Ministry of Health in the HIV response and disease outbreak responses. The vehicles were purchased using savings from the Efficiency Gains Fund to support the made in the HIV field, as well as strengthening Zimbabwe's health system. From the 136 vehicles, the National AIDS Council has received 20 vehicles all in all. So the government has said that they are going to distribute these cars across the country, and to ensure that each district in the country has a motor vehicle, to ensure that health services, they go a long way. So it was quite a beautiful moment when the Ministry of Health and Childcare minister actually received the vehicles, and they say that right now they are working on ensuring that they distribute the cars across the country, because 136 brand new cars is quite a huge number. So will go a long way in ensuring that health services are delivered in most of the country's health delivery systems, and also health delivery hospitals and clinics.
Thank you so much, Talen Gore, for bringing us the latest news in Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
It's always a pleasure to have you, Talent. Let's take a look at the weather predictions before we return with economic news. Getting into our economic news, Barrick Lumwana mine has donated 50,000 United States dollars towards drought programs. Barrick Lumwana mine country manager Anthony Malenga says the funds are meant to cushion families affected by the drought. Malenga expressed optimism that the donation will go a long way in helping alleviate the challenges faced by the families impacted by the drought. Zanes reports that Barrick Lumwana country manager announced this during the presidential luncheon hosted in honor of the Burundi president, Evariste Ndayishimiye, who graced this year's show. We'll now take a look at our economic indicators before we return with the sports news. When it comes to the world of sports, I only trust Ari Hogat to keep me updated. Good morning, Ari. Can you get into your sports stories?
Yes, a very good morning. Yes, it's Olympic Games time, so it's a busy weekend. It's going to be a busy week and lots of sport happening. All the sports focused on Paris. There's just a few things happening outside of the Olympic Games, but let's briefly go into the Olympic Games. Namibian Vera Lusa was in action in the women's road race, the bicycle, the cycling, and they are in action and. Credible 68th position, very tough competition for Vera Lusa. She was about 11 minutes and 24 seconds behind the winner. And the winner was Kristen Faulkner. She's of the USA. It was a spectacular late solo attack of her. Faulkner, she beat the experienced Mariana Vos into second and Lotika Petri into third. So it's a great gold medal for Kristen Faulkner of the USA. In the men's race, it was again Remco Evenepoel. Remco Evenepoel, just when the Olympics started, also won the time trial on the cycling, the men's time trial, but he did the double. He won the road race as well. That is Remco Evenepoel, and he's from Belgium, and it was Valentin Madouza of France in second position. So well done to Remco Evenepoel. Going on to some athletics news, that was very exciting. It was the 100 meters. It was the women and the men that was in action over the weekend, and that is the fast athletes, and that is Alfred. That is Julian Alfred. She's from St. Lucia. A brilliant story. The first ever medal for that country, and it was a gold. She won the 100-meter sprint in a spectacular fashion. It was raining a bit, but she won the first ever medal for her country. Shikari Richardson, the favorite on the left there, was in second position. In the men's race, it was very, very close. It was unfortunate for South Africa, Nakani Simbine. He just missed out on a silver medal. What happened there, it was Noah Lyles of the USA that won, and it was Chrishane Thompson of Jamaica. They at the same time, 9.78, only hundreds of a second that they had to go to determine the winner, Noah Lyles. And but it was Akeni Simbine. He was in fourth position. The third position, 9.81. He's got 9.82. So devastating for him for fourth position, but still a great achievement. And then briefly also in the 4x400 meter mixed, it was the men and women that run together there, two each, and it was the Netherlands that came through as winners there, and a great performance there by Femke Bol. That's her on the left there in the orange, winning that 4x400 meter mix. She's a brilliant athlete. She's going to be in action on Thursday again in the 400 meter hurdles, and one of the favorites there to win. But she came back from about 10 meters behind in the last lap to win spectacularly. So that is all the athletics that continue. Briefly, tennis as well. It was almost like a major. It was the men's final. Novak Djokovic that played against Carlos Alcaraz at Roland Garros, the final of the Olympic game men. And at last, it was Novak Djokovic. He came through as the winner. Novak Djokovic has never won gold medal at the Olympic Games. Of course, have won 24 majors. He beat Carlos Alcaraz at two tough sets, 7-6 and 7-6. And then the women's winner is Zheng Qinwen. She's from China, and she beat Donna Vekic in the final. That is Zheng Qinwen, the first ever gold medal in singles for China. They won the doubles in Greece quite a few years ago, 1996, I think it was, or 2004, I think. So way back, and the first time they've ever won the singles medal. So that's all the Olympics. That continues through the week, lots of action, and we'll follow that. Just briefly, also, it was the British Grand Prix MotoGP. That's outside of the Olympics. That also happened at Silverstone. They are in action, and it was Enio Bastianini that won at Silverstone, the British Grand Prix. He passed Jorge Martin just late in the event to win. That's Enio Bastianini. That is the MotoGP at the Silverstone circuit there in Britain. That's all the news. So we continue to watch the Olympic Games, and we continue to root for the athletes that still need to compete in the event also for Namibia. And it is Johannes in the marathon that will happen also later. So a great week for everyone, and hope it's good success. Bye-bye.
We definitely continue to root for those athletes. Thank you so much, Ari, for bringing us the latest in the world of sports. And with that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. Thank you for starting your week with Africa Good Morning. We'll be right back after this short break.